I disagree with that. I taught the Constitution for 10 years. I believe in the Constitution, and I will obey the Constitution of the United States. We're not going to use signing statements as a way of doing an end run around Congress. All right?
It turns out Obama has been doing much of the same thing since he took office. Obama has issued dozens of signing statements that allow him to bypass specific provisions of congressional legislation the president doesn't like. His first signing statement, included with the omnibus spending bill on March 11, 2009, includes a clause that allows Obama to allocate funding to U.S. troops involved in UN military operations that are under the command of a foreign national. Well, Congress sought to limit the funding to keep our military from being commandeered by foreign commanders under the supervision of the UN. This could be used to allow foreign commanders to control troops on American soil, such as was the case in the NLE-09, aka National Level Exercise 2009, which took place last July, where the National Guard practiced drills in which they worked side by side with foreign troops, and certain operations were commanded by foreign commanders to control the U.S. population in the case of martial law. Obama said during his campaign that he would repeal the Patriot Act.
Well, the Obama administration is facing a new test of its civil liberties policies as it seeks to renew 3 key Bush administration domestic surveillance laws. The administration has asked lawmakers to extend powers allowing the government to collect a wide range of financial and personal records, as well as monitor suspects with roving wiretaps. The methods were authorized under the USA Patriot Act and are set to expire at year's end.
President Obama has once again betrayed his promise to restore liberties eviscerated by the Bush regime by pushing Congress to renew the Patriot Act provisions that allow for warrantless spying on American citizens, even in cases where there's no link to terrorism whatsoever.
The people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause. It goes on. But the probable cause part is what I'm really concerned about here, because the Patriot Act essentially is removing the requirement for investigations without probable cause. They're saying, look, you know, we can investigate based upon sort of more nebulous instincts that maybe there's a concern.
In the healthcare debate, we have heard many campaign promises from candidate Obama opposing Hillary Clinton in the debate, saying that he would not force people to get health insurance.
Senator Clinton has a different approach. She believes that we have to force people who don't have health insurance to buy it.
Now provisions in the current bill are being reviewed in committee would not only require people to buy health insurance, but would punish those who didn't with fines and possibly up to 5 years in prison.
And that's why under my plan, individuals will be required to carry basic health insurance.
Obama also opposed McCain's idea to tax health care benefits as a way to help pay for health care reform.
First of all, we found out that Senator McCain wants to pay for his plan by taxing your health care benefits for the first time in history.
John McCain wants to tax your health care benefits. And this reform will charge insurance companies a fee for their most expensive policies.
President Obama has promised a new standard of transparency in his administration. One of the promises on that front was the promise to negotiate health care reform in public sessions televised on C-SPAN.
Not negotiating behind closed doors, but bringing all parties together and broadcasting those negotiations on C-SPAN so that the American people can see what the choices are.
We have yet to see the health care debate on C-SPAN. Another promise of transparency was to allow 5 days of public comment before signing bills. President Obama promised to have the bills posted online at least 5 days before they are voted on, so the public could be aware of what's in the bill and have the opportunity to comment to their elected representatives.
The bill that ends up on my desk as president, you, the public, will have 5 days to look online and find out what's in it before I sign it.
Obama promised to change politics as usual in Washington by creating tougher rules against revolving doors for lobbyists and former officials, and promised that he would not hire lobbyists to work in his administration.
And the way to make government accountable is make it transparent so that the American people can know exactly what decisions are being made, how they're being made, and whether their interests are being well served. We need to make the White House the people's house, and we need to close the revolving door that lets lobbyists come into government freely and lets them use their time in public service as a way to promote their own interests over the interests of the American people when they leave.
In this race to take tell the lobbyists in Washington that their days of setting the agenda are over. They have not funded my campaign. They will not work in my White House.
The Obama administration now has, or has during his transition, employed over 40 lobbyists.
Installed Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner appointed Mark Patterson, and this is a former top lobbyist for Goldman Sachs, as his chief of staff. William Lynn, he was appointed to the #2 position at the Defense Department. William Lynn, also a former top lobbyist for Raytheon, which is one of the 5 largest defense contractors. So.
Obama also promised during his campaign to end the wars and bring the troops home as soon as he was sworn in.
I will promise you this, that if we have not gotten our troops out by the time I am president, it is the first thing I will do. I will get our troops home. We will bring an end to this war. You can take that to the bank.
But instead, he pulled 50,000 troops out of Iraq, sent them to Afghanistan, and then replaced the troops in Iraq with private military contractors like Blackwater and Ravenwood.
The 30,000 additional troops that I'm announcing tonight will deploy in the first part of 2010.
And in addition, according to the Associated Press, Obama will ask Congress for an additional $33 billion to fight the unpopular wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And that's on top of the record $708 billion for the defense budget next year. Sounds like a worthy Nobel Peace Prize laureate to me.
To be honest, I do not feel that I deserve to be in the company of so many of the transformative figures who've been honored by this prize.
He said it, folks. I didn't. And that wraps up our segment on the biggest Obama lies of 2009. Let's keep an eye on the White House in 2010. Next up is Charlie Veitch and the Love Police.
Welcome back. We have a very special guest in studio with us here today. We have Charlie Veitch all the way from London, England, and the Love Police. Charlie, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, Luke. Thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here in New York with you guys. We're doing the same work as you guys are doing here in New York over in London, so it just seemed like the natural thing to do to come over and join up and bring the tribes together.
So the people who don't know you guys, because you guys are from London, what do you guys do? What is the Love Police?
The Love Police is more of an idea than an actual organization. Police ask us all the time, like, which organization do you belong to? And we always say, well, we belong to humanity. It's probably kept like that for a reason. There is no hierarchy, there's no structure to it. I worked in finance in London for 7 years, and I wore a suit like you guys are wearing now. You look very nice, both of you. And I put a suit on and I sold investments to people, and I believed it was real. And then as I did a lot more research and I opened my eyes to the real information about this world, it was very humbling to me, and I realized I wasn't really following what I believed to be right. And the Love Police really is a grassroots movement to try and give the power back to the people. And the only way we can do that is to remind people of their power. We're not selling a message, we're not selling an idea. We're just trying to instill that courage in people, which we all used to have. We all used to be warriors in the jungle running around, very spiritually based. We used to be at one with nature. We used to be proud of ourselves, but now we're all Prozac junkies and fast food addicts. So it's to try and reverse the trend in the world from turning us into biological robots, and I want us to be human again. So that's what we are, the Love Police.
Would you call yourself a revolutionary group?
In as far as we wish for a revolution, then yes, the Love Police is definitely revolutionary. Revolution carries a lot of baggage from history, because when people think of a revolution, they think of the Russian Revolution with the royal family getting executed. They think of bloodbaths on the street. They think of the Cuban Revolution, where communism is brought in, and we know how Americans feel about communism, which is fair enough. But we are now in 2010. Things have evolved. The battle isn't now to be fought with AK-47s or M16s. It's not about killing people. It's about waking people up. So in terms of a wake-up revolution, I'm definitely a revolutionary.
Yeah, and it's now being fought with cameras and bullhorns.
Yes.
And instead of guns and knives.
Yeah, the trigger here, this is probably the most powerful weapon we have on the streets in New York and London, because with one of these you can get through to, on an afternoon, a good 10,000, 20,000 people. And if you spread the truth, which to me equals love, with a bullhorn, and you're able to speak through it well, which, Luke, you're very able to speak through it well, and I'm lucky as well to be able to use this thing. It's the best way. We can't go around kidnapping people or shooting people, but what we can do is spread the truth when we live in a corporate-controlled matrix spreading so many lies all around us. And